This episode of the Closeout Bodyboarding podcast is proudly presented by Function Bodyboards. Check out the all-new range of Function boards, including the Joe Clarke, Chase O'Leary and Brad Stone models at your local bodyboarding or surf specialist store, or online at www.function.com. Now, back to the crew in the studio. Welcome to the Closeout Bodyboarding podcast, an audio experience where three good mates discuss their love for bodyboarding. We'll also talk about current topics and what we're all looking forward to for the future of the sport we love and are so passionate about. Today, I'm one of your hosts, MJ, and joined by very special guest and other host, Shane Britton.
Michael,
how are you, mate?
thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us in your palatial home again. So today we've actually got a special guest as well, which is great. Bloke that didn't even bother picking up a bodyboard till he was 16, which is wild to begin with. And then only did so just to break the heart and spirit of one of his best mates at the time. Welcome to the podcast, Joe Clarke.
Hey, g'day. How are we?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I've just had a sauna and a cold bath, so I'm ready to roll.
MJ's got it all sorted up here, doesn't he?
Oh, mate. It's the health and wellness centre of the northern end. Wish I lived a bit closer.
Well, I'm the oldest out of the group, so I've got to try and get as much as I can back.
So tell us a bit about that. 16, good mate at the time.
Yeah, well, basically, that all started... I used to hang out with a group of guys. I was like right into surf life saving.
Yep.
And basically, this group of guys I ended up, hanging out with at school were kind of totally against surf life saving, basically, and they're all bodyboarders and surfers. So,
well, tell us a bit about that. Why were we into life saving and that at the time? Because obviously, a lot of our guys on our team, Novi, Blackie,
Lockie,
Ramsey,
Cade,
all
back in the day.
Yeah, like over the years. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, basically, I think when you grow up near the beach, it's a part of most Aussie kids' upbringings, yep. I think, and whether or not you still pursue it, keep pursuing it. As you get older, that's up to everyone. But basically, for me, I started surf life saving when I was about 8, I think. My mum's partner at the time was a surf life saver. And so, I had no idea about the beach. I was terrified of the water. Didn't want anything to do with it. And basically, I ended up going to school that was right next to the surf club that my mother worked at.
Yep.
And so, it just came hand in hand that I did that.
Which surf club?
Nobby's Beach Surf Club on the Gold Coast. Did that till I was, roughly high school. I was probably transitioning out of it by the time I got to grade 9, and that's when I picked up the bodyboard. So that's where that comes in. Basically, all the lads that I went to school with, so there was like Corey McLean, Ash Bryant, Tom Smith. I just wanted to do what they were doing, and I loved what they did, and that's how I picked up the bodyboard. So roughly grade 9 was when I kind of, started trying to go in comps and compete against my mates and stuff like that. And I just had this drive to, excel in that because the guys that I was around were the best in Australia at the time and, the best style and all that sort of stuff. So, I had great role models and great guys to look up to and measure myself up against.
Do you feel like the competitiveness from the Nippers program quickly translated for you into bodyboarding?
I think that was with me since I was a little fella, to be honest. Like I got age champion in primary school for athletics and stuff like that. I used to cry when I'd lose. Like I was just like a hectic little competitive guy, and that just carried on through everything that I've ever done. Like I don't get so upset when I lose now. It taught me to lose well. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got to be a good loser and humble and if you lose and stuff like that. So I found with bodyboarding, it taught me a lot in that sort of aspect. So,
So then you pick up a bodyboard and like you've got a group of friends that are all competitive, that are all pretty much at the top. All those names are pretty well known around Australia. When you pick up the bodyboard, what do you see your goals at the time? Like, do you think, I want to compete well with those guys, or just photos or filming, or how does that sort of start taking over?
Yeah, well, I think back then everything was just all about style. So when I first started, my best mate at the time, Corey McLean, he was just like a style Nazi. Like I'd be on a wave and he'd just blatantly go, that would look terrible. You need to do this, this and this. And so my main focus when I first started was all about style. So that was my first thing. So I was just like, study Hardy, study Rawlins. That's all I did. So that was my goal at the start, and to obviously get my moves down pat and stuff like that. Then from there, it kind of molded into getting a pro model, becoming sponsored, that sort of stuff, being able to travel the world, make a career out of it. And then, so that was my main drive. And then obviously got a contract, I was able to travel the world, got a pro model board, and it all just kind of snowballed. And I think that was partly to do with the guys that I grew up with, how competitive they were, and just being around those elite guys from the start gave me a pretty massive stepping stone to get to where I wanted.
Amazing group of friends when you think you weren't even bodyboarding at the time, and to fall into that group.
Well, I kind of, as well, Corey would get me down to D-Bar, and I started catching the bus down there, and I'd ride my bike from Christine Corner to the highway, which is a half an hour bike ride. And then I'd be in my steamer with track pants on and hoodie and stuff like that with my board. I'd ride to the highway, get the bus from Burleigh to D-Bar, walk to D-Bar, surf all day, walk back to the bus stop, bus all the way back to Burleigh, ride all the way home.
So that's full commitment.
Yeah. So
the drive, you could have just surfed Burleigh.
Yeah, I could have, but that's where all the good guys were. So I was like, I got to be down there. And there was also this thing with all the D-Bar guys that you had to be out. The first person out there, the keenest person, like they just had this, like, I don't know how you say it, but they were looked up at. Like if you were out there an hour before dark, like the sun came up, you were like, oh wow, Joe was out there at 3 a.m. And like you just see Sam Gray out there or Deethy or Byron, and it'd be pitch black and lackey, and we were all just competing to get out there first. It was so strange, but I don't know, that was just one of the things that came along with it. And
so obviously during that time of like obviously your transition through, starting bodyboarding and then getting those pro models, there was always magazines, there was Riptide, there was Movement, there was a handful of publications, there was online things. What do you remember the first like magazine or photo that you had published or like that significant? Because obviously as a grommet, that's like a goal of yours to, the first time you see yourself in a magazine, or, the next step would be obviously in a movie. Like what were those two parts for you?
Yeah, well, we used to do VHS, what would you call it, like a resume? So that was to get a movie part. That was always like you wanted to get a section for a resume. That was the first thing you did. So
wow, I remember those.
Yeah, so VHS.
That seems so long ago.
We were lucky to have like a few filmers around us, such as yourself and Mitchie P and Danny Armstrong and Liam O'Brien. We had so many filmers and we had so many photographers. But so it was to get a video resume, video part, and it was all just like tech stuff, like little spins in the wash and little barrels and stuff at D-Bar and all that sort of stuff. And then photo-wise, my first picture was in a Riptide magazine. I can't remember what number it was, but it was of an invert at Fingal. And it was like, I was doing like an Epo air basically, but my legs looked really good, like nice and scissored. And that was the first one. And it was like... it was a...
State News or...
No, it was like introducing young guns.
Oh, like Grom. Yeah, I remember those parts.
And that's what it was. I've got the photo on my phone, actually.
They had that old young gun section.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It was like or it was like a Queensland section, young guns, and they had like the states.
Yep.
I think it was something like that.
Well, we'll pop it up on the Instagram of the page. So if anyone wants to check out that photo, we'll put it up there for everyone to have a look.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was it. I remember that was the first page, the first shot I got running Riptide. Yeah.
And then what about movie section? So like it would have been VHS obviously back then. So it would have been something maybe by
Dave Childs. Yeah. Aussie made, I think. Maybe. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Aussie made. I can't remember the first movie part, but yeah, that was one of the first I can recall. Yeah.
You mentioned MJ before, always been around the film.
Yeah.
How did that relationship, because you guys obviously long-time friends.
Yeah. So he actually lived with me. I can't even remember. What would I have been, like 18?
I remember. Do you remember the
18?
first night that we met?
Was it my birthday? 21st? No, it was before that.
Wasn't it Ash's birthday or was it yours?
I think it was mine at
Was your-
Tallabudra.
Yeah, and it was
You were there with Joel.
schoolyard theme.
Yeah.
So everyone dressed up like little school kids with like fake pimples on their face
Freckles
and
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's right. That was my 21st.
Yeah.
So there you go.
No, so I'd been hanging around Wad, who's another bodyboarder, and he sort of was around the circle of the Rigbys and those boys. And then we got back to the Gold Coast, and then just happened on a Saturday night. They were like, "Oh, let's go to this party," and I was like, I don't even think I knew of Joe or who Joe was, and that was the same with Ash and pretty much 90% of the people that were there. I think I've got that photo as well.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And then that would have been the first experience that I met Joe, and then just through keenness, it was like I was living in Broadbeach at the time, and then I'd pick up Joe and Wad on the way because Wad was in Mermaid.
Nobbies, yeah.
He was in Nobbies, so I'd pick Wad up and then we'd pick up Joe. So then I think back in that day, I reckon we're going to Deba 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah.
We're going down there every single day, and it didn't matter whether it was 2 foot, 10 foot. It was we went to D-Bar.
And you didn't move till we got the footage we wanted. He'd sit there and he'd be
the rock spider.
I'd also be like, we're not leaving till we've got this. We were both super keen though. Jennings was upgrading his cameras every year, and it was just we evolved with each other, and we did all the movie parts we got, and video sections and stuff are all based around us. Other people put in, but it was mainly just MJ and I. Yeah, building upon both our careers, and yeah.
You've just mentioned something though that I've never really thought about, even though I've been so involved with producing films now as well.
Yeah.
But I've never spoken to writers about it. But the way you mention it then, you see a lot of skate films and they're trying to do a specific run and they're trying to capture it on film.
Yeah.
But the way you described it then sounded the exact same way. You had something in mind you wanted to achieve that MJ was trying to capture.
Yeah.
Is that how you saw it? You were trying to do something specific that, the two of you working together is, symbiotically type of thing?
Yeah, definitely. We'd go down there at a certain time of the morning to get a backlit shot air or something like that. And if the waves were accommodating to that, that's what we would go for. And we'd talk to each other, and he'd stand in a certain place on the beach to get that shot or something like that. But yeah, definitely. Or if the waves were, not so great, but there was the chance of a big bowl, we wouldn't leave till we hit that, you know what I mean? And I landed it or something like that. But
it was, I reckon, even at a point in time in your surfing during that time as well, it was probably more versatile. Whereas if you nailed an invert and got one, then after that you'd be like, all right, I'm going to try an air spin, I'm going to try a reverse, or I'm going to try a backflip. Or it was always just all right, well, let's just go through the, tick the boxes and go, all right, well, we've got a spin, we've got a thing, and then just move. It was almost like moving on.
But in saying that, as a filmer, do you feel like all writers' brains work like that? Because I haven't thought that they do.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't think it was, but I think because we lived together, we surfed together, we were around each other, I think the catalogue of footage, it's almost like me saying to Joe, all right, what's in your fridge? You always know in your own house what you've got. And I think that's the relationship that we had, because I'd come home from work and he'd be sitting in my room at the house and he'd just be watching footage. So in his mind, he's like, all right, I already know the section, or I knew, even it was back in that day, you could use any song and stuff like that. So I think before we'd even started editing the clip, we'd almost curated the clip before we even started, because we knew what we had, where we were going, what we were doing. So therefore, it was I would say, without it being structured, it was very structured.
Yeah.
And also, I found if I had 10 inverts on footage, I didn't need to go out there and go do an invert, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I just focus on trying to find that certain bowl to get a backflip or an air reverse. Or it was probably more reverses, because that's all the left wedges, or all the wedges around here are left. So I had a million left reverses. So it was probably more rights I was looking for. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Obviously, you guys worked together a long time. Do you remember your first clip that you had together? Do you remember what film that was?
Oh, the first one that got in a movie would have been in Todd Barnes.
Yeah.
And it was because the video was already made, and then just by happen we went down to
Southwell.
We went down to Ballina, and then we got this epic session, and then I was just I sort of emailed Todd and I was like, hey mate, we've got something. And he's like, oh, you know, the movie's already done kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I don't know. So he sent it down and then basically edited it. And the way that it works in the film finishes, basically the credits have rolled, and then there's like a voiceover and it goes, oh, we've got one more. And then it's like this, like the most intense minute 30 section where it's just like bam, bam, bam. And then like you're sort of just stuck there. You're like, holy shit. Like it's almost like you just watched the trailer to the next episode of a film or a movie or whatever. So therefore you were just like, yeah, it was, yeah. So I think that was our first one. But then I think the first waves that we got would have been in a Waldron's one. Yep. I think that was just like random. They just
Stratty.
They just took some
board.
Yeah, they just took some spare or like just some clips that we had at the time. But I think like the first like start to finish section that was like just Joe and myself was definitely Todd's.
Yeah. So you guys lived together a long time?
Oh, it wasn't that long, was it? Like 2 years max?
Like 5.
Was it 5?
Yeah. Yeah.
So MJ's told the story a couple of times.
Wow.
About him finding you in your room, obsessing about watching Novi at Southwall.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh, mate. Anything with South. Look, I love Ballina. It was like one of my favourite places growing up. And then you get a man like Novi doing what he does out there. And I was just like, set a fire under me. I was just like, oh, all right, this is what I got to do and this is where I need to be. So, yeah, I don't know. I just used anything like that as fire. And I think with that sort of wave, it suited my surfing. And then he's a very powerful, explosive rider. And I was like, well, that's what I need to do. And you had visions and stuff like that as well. And how well that did. You know, that was probably why that, got me so fired up.
Yeah.
And keen to, surf the place and surf like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so we've talked a lot about growing up in the Goldie so far. What's your next step? Like, where do you start thinking about, I want to go overseas? And, you know, where do you go to sort of for that first big trip?
Yeah, so my first big trip was to Hawaii, fresh out of high school. Looking at Riptide and all the movies and stuff like that, all the Aussies would do the winter season over in Hawaii. And they'd generally go for a month-long time period, and they'd stay in the slums around Kiki and pay minimal money, live off bread and butter, rice, you know, all the bare necessities. But Hawaii was the proving ground for every bodyboarder in the world, and basically. But the Aussies had this massive push on it, and
why do you think that is?
Yeah, the waves, of course. The waves are...
But it used to be like 100 Australian Grommies. Not even the pro guys. It was like, you'd see the photos, you know, Riptide would print a photo and it'd be 100 of you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's like I think it's that year, there's a photo in that Riptide where there's 50 or 60 Grommies on Kiki Beach with pushies. And then it's like literally stretches
all in a row.
And it's like...
double page.
It's a double page because there was just so many... everyone was there.
Yeah. Nah, it was the thing to do. If you didn't do it, you didn't get anywhere in bodyboarding. Basically, that was the way it was in Australia. If you weren't there, no one knew you. You could be good at home, but for some reason, I just found like it's a nuts place. Like the waves are crazy. There's so much power, and if you can excel there, you'll excel anywhere in the world. And so that was the whole point of going there. And so obviously, if I wanted to become a professional bodyboarder, that was my next step, naturally. So, I slaved in a fish and chip shop to make enough money to get over to Hawaii. So I was doing like 12-hour days.
Best chips on the Gold Coast,
They were the best chips on the Gold Coast. It was called the Fish Hut back in the day, and they used to put like a batter on it.
So it was chips, but then they'd batter them as well. So it was like a piece of fish, about like a chip. Like it was double.
And I used to sit out the back and peel potatoes for like 6 hours, like bags and bags and bags, and then hand cut them potato by potato. And then this little Filipino lad, his name was Joe as well, and he'd come and he had this secret recipe that was like some crazy batter. And but the whole Gold Coast knew about it, and like we used to just get thrashed. Like so, I worked for probably 4 months straight, just after high school to get to Hawaii, and that was how I got there. And they gave me like little Christmas bonuses and stuff like that. And that was that was how I got there.
But Hawaii, like, what was first impressions? Obviously, you know, the waves are crazy. The place, like, did you see like beatdowns? Did you see like what was the first impressions of Hawaii once you did get there?
Well, yeah, if you compare D-Bar to Pipeline, it's a completely different kettle of fish. Like, I was shit scared the whole time. Basically, like the locals are huge and they're scary and they yell at everyone, and it's like, oh, I'm used to just sitting out the back at D-Bar and catching any wave I wanted kind of thing. Or the worst I had was like Byron Nemanai telling me I couldn't go, or Rob Laurie or something, you know what I mean? But yeah, over there it was terrifying. It was so scary and it was so big, and it was just like, yeah, it was a good introduction into the world of bodyboarding, because every place you go for bodyboarding is like that, like heavy, intense. And yeah, I think it was a great stepping stone for the career and everything, you know?
So obviously, while you were there in that first year, there was obviously a significant moment in your career. Like, what was that?
I think, yeah, I think it was my first year, possibly second. Crawley and Benny Player had the job of looking for 2 Aussie Groms, one each, obviously, to kind of mentor and get sponsored and kind of look for, like a Grom. And yeah, I knew Crawley from the Gold Coast, and I knew he was right into his Aussie pride back then. That was like a big thing in Hawaii. It was like, yeah, the Aussies were like, we're the Aussies and stuff like that. And there was just like this big Aussie kind of pride thing going on. Anyway, so I put I knew this, and I put an little Aussie flag on my board and stuff like that. And I caught like a few good waves that season, and I guess I must have stood out. So yeah, Crawley ended up picking me for NMD, and it was just like a little trial thing, and they just gave us like a few free boards, and yeah, they kind of mentored us through. And then yeah, so that was my first board sponsor I picked up, and that was in Hawaii from my I think it was first season. So yeah, that was a massive part of the start of my career. Yeah.
Before we move on from Hawaii,
yeah,
those first 2 years that you went, did you compete in the comp?
No, I didn't. I just free surfed. Yeah. I was just taking it all in, learning about the place.
You're competing back home though?
Yeah, definitely. I was in all like the state comps and the local Gold Coast comp and stuff like that down at D-Bar. Yeah.
What prevented you from competing those first couple of years?
Probably money, and I didn't think I was good enough.
Yep.
I'd say. Yeah, back then you had all your Hubs, your Stewarts, and Winnie and Ben Player and all that sort of stuff. I probably didn't go in the comp because, yeah, I didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah,
I'd say. I was just a spectator, and I was there to get seen and, just try and build on that, I guess, free surfing part, get sponsored and stuff like that. I think that was my main goal.
That's amazing though, like to think about your career in that way, that I went there to be noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was the pure point of going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Because, it was obviously to try and get the biggest barrels of your life, because it's the most insane place ever.
Yeah.
And, but main reason was, get noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get sponsored. Yeah.
So you come home with a contract in hand.
Yeah.
And with, I guess, new experiences behind you. What's your next step?
Oh, mate, I think it took the avenue of doing the Australian Pro Tour.
Yep.
Started doing those comps. And yeah, it was basically still free surfing, getting the video parts, getting the sections in movies and stuff like that. I think that was my main goal, but I wanted to get a pro model board.
Yep.
And I remember the carrot getting dangled by Mez at the time. And yeah, basically he said, you do well, you get some photos. I remember there was a big push on photos and Riptide and stuff like that. If you could get like double page spreads, single page spreads, ads, whatnot. And if you could get that kind of momentum in your career you're starting off on, we'll then give you a pro model board, and then we'll give you a limited run. And if you sell them, then we'll release the board for you.
Yep.
So that was my main drive back then, was to just get on a photo trip, get the photos, get the ball rolling. And then that was so that would have been my next kind of mountain to climb towards. And of course I was NMD, so it was Winnie and Ben Player, so I had those two to look up to. And Max Arendt was the Aussie.
Yep.
that got picked at that same time that I got picked. So he was charging down the south coast, and I was doing the beachy thing up the north.
So then the next part of that would have been obviously going over to Indo with the Waldrons and that team. Was that prior or after board model?
That was prior.
So prior. Yeah. So what was that experience like? Obviously, there was you, there was Thorpe, there was Winnie, there was like young and old, but basically that was sort of your first team trip, I'd say, overseas.
Yeah, that was my first team trip. I feel like that trip for me was where I felt like I could half match it with those guys in that stuff. But I remember that just gave me so much confidence, that trip, because you're out in the lineup with them and, you going wave for wave. And I remember just surfing for like 8 hours a day. Toinsy was just absolutely whipping us, because it was one of those team trips where they had all the guys in the same place. The waves were cooking every day. And yeah, we just, as I've said before, I was super competitive, and I was with these guys, and I was like, well, if that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do. So that's what I was trying. And yeah, managed to half keep up with them, which was, just a massive boost for me. And after that, they brought out all the podcasts for each rider from that trip.
All the Waldron ones. Yep.
That was kind of a little bit of an evolution in sort of the online space as well, because prior to that, everything had been like DVDs, had been VHSs. So I feel like, they called it the Boom podcast, but essentially like it was online video section. It wasn't an audio podcast, but I think that was the beginning of online video.
It was definitely the first ones I remember.
Even with that, I think with obviously where you were, like you're in Bali and you were there, but I think a lot of those waves that you surfed in that time, like it was prior to sort of Bali getting noticed as well. Like obviously you surf Karamas, you surf Canggu, and it was kind of, I don't know, Bali hadn't been seen like that, I don't think, from bodyboarding.
No, not at all. I look back and there was like at Canggu, there was like 4 little huts on the beach, and then it was just farmland. Like there was just cows rolling around on the beach and stuff like that. Wave-wise, like Padang, I think Benny and that had been going to Padang for years, and obviously putting the clips up. But a real large-scale insight into how good the waves actually are there. That definitely would have been some of the first sections that I can remember. Yeah, for sure.
So you're saying you felt like you're keeping up with everyone. How does that then drive your self-confidence and translate into, moving forward? Yeah,
well, that's what I mean. Like that opened my eyes to say, hang on a minute, I can actually have a crack at these guys, guys, like in comps and stuff like that. And that probably would have been the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to start entering these comps to have a go, because if I can do it here, I reckon I can do it over there. So that's definitely, for myself, 100% the point where I was like, all right, I've got a good shot at this. And that, the amount of...
So does that focus into the ABA or the IBA at the time? What?
Everything. Yeah, that's where it all lifted off.
Now that the ball was rolling, what was that first event that you did, compete and obviously feel like you had that, to be able to compete with those guys?
I was on the Aussie Pro Tour at a comp in Western Australia at a beachy called Windmills. I got my first Aussie Pro Tour win there against Winnie. We were going wave for wave kind of thing. I pipped him right at the end. He was doing this thing so everyone it's like Windmills is like this little rip bowl, like epic little right rip bowl, and just doing your flips and stuff like that. And I noticed midway through the comp, Winnie sitting out wider on this rock and getting reforms from the rock and starting his waves out there. And I took notice of this and I was like, oh, okay. And he kept winning his heats. And so, in the final, he went out there, he caught a wave, and I followed him out there, and I actually got a bigger set and just did an invert and got a high score than him and pipped him doing what I'd noticed that he'd been doing. And I'm pretty sure he had me on the ropes the whole time until that last wave. And so that really got the comp juices flowing, as they say. That was my first Aussie Pro Tour win, and my first kind of win against the big guys, and gave me the most confidence for sure.
So obviously beating one red nut and then going to another red nut. Over the years, you've had a fair few different personalities. You've had Bearded Joe, you've had Peroxide Joe, you've had... tell us about the thought process of... your personalities?
Oh, well, being a Goldie boy, blonde hair always worked a charm with the girls. So that was...
Is that why MJ looks the way he does right now? The real Slim
That's probably
Shady.
the only reason why I bleached my hair so much. Like, it was already blonde, but I just wanted that extra brownie points on the dance floor. But then Vikings came out, so I had the shaved head and a beard. I had the short back and sides with the mohawky kind of thing. Yeah, that was literally the only reason why I had those. Or if I shaved my head, I needed to counteract it with a bit of chin hair. You know what I'm saying?
So you had the Josh Kirkman envy.
Yeah, that's it. But if I was heavily into training and I didn't want to party anymore, I'd cut my blonde hair off and I'd shave my head and I wouldn't go out and no girls would look at you. So that's probably that's probably the best part about the old hairdos.
So you fell into one of the biggest traps of living on the Goldie too.
Oh yeah.
You worked for Bodyboarder Surf Co.
We thought we were going down a very different path.
Yeah, I thought we
like
got left, we went right. Yeah, no, I
thought we were going down Nick Cornell's favourite establishment.
Oh, wow.
No, we
What's that called? Saint
Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
I haven't had the pleasure.
I had shares in that place. So. Oh well.
Anyhow, Bodyboarder Surf Co.
Yeah, Bodyboarder Surf Co. No, that was good because I could sell all my boards or my fins. Someone was looking at a science, I'd be like, "Oh, have you seen these?" And they didn't know who I was, and I was just like, "Oh, well, from what I've heard from people around the, around the traps, these boards are really good. Like, you should try this one." And I actually got really good sales. I think I sold 1,100 boards one year.
Wow.
And that's probably when I was in Bodyboarder Surf Co, I reckon. That was with VS. So it was handy. But when the surf was pumping, I'm like, aren't I supposed to be a professional surfer and the waves are pumping? And he's like, no, you gotta stay here and work, mate. And I was like,
Tough boss.
Mate, tough boss. Yeah.
But I think everyone's done that. I think Lackey worked there. Who else has worked at the shop?
Everyone.
Eric,
Ewan,
Roy,
Grizz,
yeah. Ewan, yeah.
Yeah.
All the boys.
It's
Rigby,
yeah. Nah, well, look, if you think about it, you want a job that kind of revolves around what you're doing, and if you can help yourself, that's probably the best spot to do it, really. And you don't have to travel too far. It's easy money. It's boring when there's no one in there, but you're just watching bodyboard videos and just everything to do with what you love. It's not the worst job in the world,
So not far away from there is obviously Snapper, all those waves. We've had some pretty good sessions out at that area, Little Marley, to speak. It's one of those ways where you can sit on the car park and just watch people getting pitted, basically. I think, some of the most memorable would have been that day that we shot water, and I think that was in one of the videos as well.
That was when they first started pumping sand. When it actually did what it's well known for now, and below sea level, 1 foot thick lips, a 2 foot wave, the nose of the board facing the beach and just sliding through them sideways so you didn't nosedive. And I remember that clip back then got a lot of love. No one had seen waves like that really.
It was 2 foot high, but it was 4 foot wide.
Yeah, and just square.
I think the best thing about that clip is it's you and Ash, and MJ's filming, and it just radiates three friends having an absolute ball.
Yeah, he's ankle deep too. He's just diving into these thick east lumps.
I remember there's one where someone would, it was everyone's just waiting in line, and then Alex went over the falls, and then someone else would go over the falls, and it was just it was obviously before wave pools. It was kind of a wave pool. You stand there in ankle deep water, and then there's just these funnels coming towards you.
Yeah, everyone was on the tip. I remember everyone would be sitting up at the front of Snapper Rocks, so it's usually known for.
Yeah.
And no one had really cottoned on to this down the Marley, just a bit further, and it was just heaving and running for so long, and none of us had seen it like that. We're just losing our marbles with infinite energy, sprinting back up the beach, just screaming at each other, screaming each other into waves, and just getting these long 30-second barrels because that bank hadn't lined the whole way up as long as it has now, though. But at the time, it was just crystal clear, not a cloud in the sky. Just, the boys just getting absolutely pitted.
But I think every time after that, though, as soon as someone mentioned Marley, everyone referred it back to that one day or that one session. It was like, oh, it's doing it like then, or it's doing it like then. And everyone was like, that was almost like the pinnacle. It was like the Olympics. Like, if we could have it again like that day, it was just incredible.
Yeah. No, that was mind-blowing that day.
So, talking about Little Marley and everything, do you feel that there's a wave that you associate with up here, like from all the clips and everything you've done? Is there something you think, oh, that wave's kind of what I'm kind of known for?
Up on the Goldie?
Yeah. Because in my head, Lovers is always something I picture you in.
Yeah.
But also the wedge at Fingal.
Yeah.
That's two for some reason.
Yeah.
Always. And then the way I see it, both those waves, how then that transitions to you on the ABA.
Yeah.
And all your wins at nights.
Yeah.
But I think that was everyone. Like, as soon as like the ABA did sort of come around, and then most of the waves were at a wedge or something like that, and they're like, oh fuck, we've got Joe in our first heat. Like, it was pretty much your bread and butter. So
I put a big smile on my face when I know we're going to a left wedge. I was like, basically Fingal and over the river from D-Bar, all left wedges. And the main waves that break on the Goldie when it was smaller were those waves. So I think that's what, refined my left wedge surfing. Yeah. Obviously starting at 1 foot up to 4 foot. So Lovers as well was the kind of bodyboarding end of D-Bar, and generally less crowded than the middle and easier to get waves. And when D-Bar was good, Lovers was really good. And
but there almost used to be a split. Like, I reckon you could have basically put like a net halfway out the beach, and there would have been bodyboarders to the north and surfers to the south.
Yeah, like the odd surfer would come through and we'd all be looking at him like, what are you doing down here? Like, you're meant to be up the beach, mate.
Yeah, it was just the bodyboarders had that end.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's crazy how things have changed. I guess like the good surfers now recognise the good bodyboarders. They always have, but like they get along much more, you know what I mean? And a lot of the bodyboarders are surfers now and stuff like that. Like, we all integrate. It's so different. Like,
but I reckon there's a level of respect for everyone now until you fuck up. Like, once you, like, if you do something that's significant, they'll still probably, pipe up. But I think there's a level of respect now where it's like, all right, well, they appreciate, like, if they see someone get one from behind the rocket snapper, it's like, fuck, that was good. Like, that was,
And a lot of them, when the waves are good like that, they'll bring a boog out just to mix it up. You know what I mean? So vice versa, when the waves aren't that good, you'll see Lucky and Rawlins and all those boys on surfboards. You know what I mean? So there's just that camaraderie out in the water now. And I think that dynamic has changed, like that, the surf hate to bodyboarders stuff. Like, it's definitely, you still got the old school guys and they're still exactly the same and they're never going to change.
Yep.
But the younger guys growing up, I think we're a much more, joined group of guys out in the ocean. We all just respect each other and,
At that point in time, like, obviously the ABA had sort of been conceptualised. There was, like, the best bodyboarders in Australia. There was the best sort of scene for, bodyboarding in Australia. Like, what was that like to be obviously at the forefront, but then, have backing and have those comps, like, at that time?
Yeah, that was, for me, that was probably the best part for bodyboarding in Australia. Like, it was heaving. There were, like, all the sponsors were getting right behind everything. And then obviously I had Shane and those guys pushing me.
Because we definitely jumped on board with the ABA. Like, it was definitely, I thought it was an amazing competition setup. And it had Benny and Nick Chandler and all those guys running it. And they sort of asked us to sort of buy into it a bit. They included us in meetings and all that sort of stuff as well. And I thought, oh, what a great event. Because we were pretty much anti-competition up until then.
You guys were just the free surfing.
Free surfing. But then all of a sudden our team swung, to yourself and Novi and Cramsey, who were all amazing competitors as well.
But even the competitiveness, like, at that point in time, like, those events were world tour events. Like, we had world tour people buying into the ABA as well.
Yeah, all those heats were just terrifying. From the first heat all the way to the end, it was like your hardest heat you could have, and they were another perfect platform for performance bodyboarding. And then it also helped that they were at really good waves as well. So they picked all the best spots in Australia, and it was a crazy time to be a bodyboarder, because you can go on a comp now, and there's a few big names still getting around, but like it's not the same. It doesn't have the same. They were ferocious. They were ferocious heats, and they were hard every heat.
Well, on top of that, you were winning heats and winning comps.
Yeah, no, that was just me being competitive, and I was training a lot as well. Like, in that point in time,
what was that training you were doing? That
check.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So that's what Jake Stoney's doing. Yeah. So basically, that was just like an all-inclusive training program in diet, and
it's a lifestyle, isn't it?
It is a lifestyle, and I'm glad I did it, because it's taught me a lot to keep rolling through life. Obviously, working in the mines, I can't embody it 100%, but I still drink quality water. I still, try and stretch and do all that sort of stuff, and try and keep my body at a decent level. And I wouldn't take back anything. It's been a life altering change for me. Yeah, doing that training. Yeah.
So then, with the level of the events that you're going in, were you going in them thinking that you were going to win, or were you going in there just to survive? Like, what was your mindset to then, obviously, the further the ABA got on, like you obviously started progressing to the podium, to then, those next sort of parts?
Yeah. Well, every comp was a learning experience, and learning how other people competed, what they did in between their heats, even down to just almost doing meditation on the beach, like clearing your mind before heats, like learning not to stress out in your heats, stuff like that. Like, stop panicking, assess the ocean before you go out, watch it for 40 minutes before your heats, stuff like that.
Because I think at that point in time in the event scene as well, there wasn't much of a world tour. So I think even from a sponsor's perspective, like winning the ABA or winning events like that, like it had such a stature.
Yeah, the IBA had pretty much collapsed by that point, and it meant all the Australians were focused on the ABA. Yeah. And on top of that, you're getting a lot of international guys coming over. Like, Tanner was coming over, and there's a lot of Japanese guys coming over in that as well. Like, it was an amazing event.
Yeah, a lot of South African lads too.
Yeah.
Which, it was awesome. Well, they saw that as a pinnacle, and they travelled for it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was a wild time to be in bodyboarding, and bit of a privilege to stand out somewhat as well. Like, I think I was just lucky, like a lot of these younger guys could be probably a lot better if they had those guys surrounding them and competing against those guys in ways of consequence, like we did. Yeah,
and then 2016, ABA champ,
finally cracked it. I kept getting in the top 10. Or like 5 even. I was getting seconds, thirds. And it was a long, strenuous, process. But mate, it was almost like, in a way, after winning that, I was just like hands up in the air. Like, I was just like, I've done it. I'm happy.
You've got your Oscar.
I got my Oscar. And it was a crazy release. Much.
Was it Northern Beaches when you... Yeah. And then there was another team rider at the time that was in a heat that if he made it through the heat, that would have went even closer.
Yeah, so I think he had to win it or get in the final, and he was in the semis, Lockie Cramsey. Yep. But he was versing Ben Player, so at a Northern Beaches wave. So I was quietly confident, but I knew how good Lockie was in the smaller waves, which it was. So I was just in this roller coaster of emotions, just like rocking on the beach, like, because Cramsey can do flips off bloody whitewash. He's like a little flea. He can do airs off anything. And I just remember he had a wave in like the last couple of minutes, and it looked like a backflip bowl. and a backwash hit it and it threw him off. He didn't land it, and I was just yelling on the beach. Like, usually, like, you're happy for your mates to, like, you want to see him do well, but yeah, that day he was my enemy. Yeah, no, that was an amazing feeling. It's a crazy feeling, like winning something you've tried so hard for so long.
I can't remember what it was. If it was an article or a video, something. You just said, just thank God the monkey's off my back type of thing.
Yeah, no, mate. It was because it was a monkey I'd been chasing for so long. You know, that was years and years and years of competing.
Yeah,
yeah, all just boiled down to that one comp. You know, like there's so
and it was
many,
out of your hands basically as well.
It was out of my hands. Yeah. No, I'd done well in all the other comps, and then that one I kind of bummed. Yeah. So if I did better, it would have been great.
But then that, I think, is another attribute to your surfing. So, like, obviously when people watch a video section, it's only the best of the best waves. So I think definitely being able to go well in comps delivers a level of consistency within a bodyboarder. Like, I think that's probably one of the most surprising things, that when people do surf with you, they see that level of consistency that you do have in the water. Like, you know, there's other people that they can watch or see, and, you know, sometimes they'll, you know, 1 in 2 waves or 1 in 3 waves or something like that, they maybe not ride out. But then, you're surfing, like, within that comp, it's an ability to be able to show that consistency.
Yeah. All the good guys at the moment in comps are all the consistent guys. You need to be consistent. And I think all the early mornings, you know, all the days we did surfing and all the prep, like I even down to the point where I wouldn't wear a leash, so I made sure I held onto my board. Like, just little things like that, all attributed to that sort of stuff, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah. What's your feelings about, like, bodyboarding competitions now? Like, do you watch IVC, or what's your thoughts about comps here in Australia and all that at the moment?
Yeah, well, look, it's a completely different world now. Like, you've still got all your top guys, mainly like South Africans. You've got your Pierre and Amori and Tanner and stuff like that. There's just not the sheer number. But to be honest, now seeing this, because Europe is now seems to be the hub.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, like all the comps there, and the young guys coming out of Portugal, and you can see, because it's shifted over there, you can see the growth in the younger guys over there. And yeah, there's no big comps in Australia anymore. So you notice that, because there's no push here anymore. You know, it's faded right off. And yeah, I believe that world tour and those comps are so detrimental to the growth of the younger guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, no, you can see the level massively rising over there, and I think that's what it's from.
Yeah, it's like the hub that we had here, but we need to really build up again.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're just going to start grassroots again and start from the bottom, and, you know, build it back up. I think it's definitely doable. You just got to do it right, and a little bit of prize money always helps, but you got to find the right guys to get behind it, and just start pushing it again, and it'll grow organically. Yeah.
So your lifestyle now,
polar opposite.
FIFO, fishing.
Yeah.
How's all that going?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Clarke the Sparky.
Clarke the Sparky. Yeah. But basically, when I lost my big sponsor back in the day, which I could kind of live off.
Yeah.
It was a turning point for me. I had to get a job. I had to get an apprenticeship.
Talk about that. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
When you've got a big sponsor, and then all of a sudden that comes to an end.
Yeah.
How's that go through your head and that at the time?
Pure panic. Well, basically, I had a partner at the time, and, you know, we're getting to the age where you're 30, you're looking at having kids, buying houses, doing all that stuff. And off the contract I had, I probably could have just managed that, but then completely losing it, I was like, right, well, now I've got to shift completely in a different direction, which was get a trade, which were the best paying jobs where I lived. And a lot of my friends were electricians or plumbers or builders and stuff like that. So yeah, I just focused all my energy, kind of just because that was
But I feel like at that point in time in bodyboarding, there was a lot of people that lost those contracts as well. Like, I think that was there was a big significant shift in kind of bodyboarding as a whole where, you know, you see like obviously yourself doing an apprenticeship and starting as a sparky, like a lot of bodyboarders, like, you know, even Hardy, like he started a bodyboarding school and, you know, it became that bodyboarding, you kind of need to have a second job or
it's both.
It was diversifying.
It's when Ryan and Joe both came and started surfing for us.
Yeah, no, we got dropped from VS for whatever reasons. But yeah, I think it worked out perfectly. I think it needed to happen for me anyway because, like, you know,
it probably not delaying the inevitable, but probably it's a different sort of.
Yeah, well, you think the world the way it is now, you need money, right? And I think it was a good shift in a direction that I needed to go for the age that I was. You know, like I'd been traveling the world and I'd been doing all that stuff. I'd been having a good time, and it was a point where I needed to just grow up. You know, get a trade under my belt, a bit of security, and that's just the direction I took. I met a few blokes and they were like, "Oh, you know, electricians get paid well, like, and it's not as hard on your body," which I can't say for right now because my body is broken. But my natural progression was get my apprenticeship done. By that time, I was 34, and then my next thing was just like, I just want to go to the mines because I know that paid pretty much double the amount or 3 times the amount. I could get further quicker in life. You know what I mean? Just kind of playing catch up.
So funny story. This home dwelling that we're actually in today. Joe actually wired it.
Oh no!
Yeah, I actually did the electrical work in Jennings's place.
It wasn't until like one day Joe had to drop off a GoPro card or something, and I'm like, "Yep, just leave it at the front door." And then he rang me in this panic, and he's like, "Oh my god, like, is that your house?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's where I live. Like, that's where we bought." And he was just like, "I actually wired that house."
I could look in the switchboard, and that'd be my switchboard that I wired up.
Wow,
all the breakers and everything. Yeah.
So just a different that's what I mean. I feel like since meeting Joe, there's just been these crazy, strange connections. Like he could have wired any house on the Gold Coast, but then it's
that's the one a massive coincidence.
It's so weird.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
So the swing though with FIFO, being up north, you've taken on this new thing with fishing.
Yeah. Well, I've always fished. Like when I was a little fella, like I was like 3 years old, I went out the back of our house. We used to live on the water in Penoa, and like I'd catch little brim and stuff like that. I've always had this like thing for like, it's like, I guess hunting in a way. I love fishing. I've always loved it. But the correspondence with going up north and really getting into it, like the guys up there love their fishing. The fishing's great.
What area?
It's around Mackay.
Yep.
And you got your barramundi, you got all the good fish, right? And then you've got all the stuff off the barrier reef. That's just a whole new world of fishing and stuff like that. And it just really took off there. I had all this extra money and I could afford fishing gear and stuff like that.
But it was at that point in time where you weren't doing FIFO, like on your swings, you were actually living up there. So therefore, it was more so like you couldn't come back and surf. You're literally there. So you're like, all right, well, I think that's where it really grew.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I had nothing else to do. There are waves in Mackay, and I have surfed up there. Yeah. But then you've got you got your crocs, you got your sharks, you got irukandjis, box jellyfish. Yeah. There's all those options that open up there.
I just spent the weekend with my mate, down at Byron. He's from Yeppoon.
Oh, yes.
He lives at Yeppoon now.
Yeah.
And he was telling me all about it.
Yeah. It's
plenty of waves.
It just adds that extra
dimension. Wildlife.
Yeah. Well, like I've been out in the surf in Mackay and I just hear this guy screaming. He's had a box jellyfish across the face.
Oh, God.
So, like, I was riding the Ryder soft tops up there.
Yep.
Because I was just like, I just want to be as far out of the water as I can. And it only breaks when it's like 25 knots from the southeast. It's the only time, because that's the biggest gap in the reef, in the barrier reef there, that you can get waves. But I surfed a few times just to say I did it, and then just was all on fishing, like getting a tinny. I got a high-sided tinny so that no crocs could jump in my boat.
So you got a tinny up there?
I had a tinny.
So I went and looked at it for him in Airlie.
Yeah, so Jennings was working up there.
I was working up there as well, and he's like, "Oh, can you go look at this boat for me?" So I went around to this random dude's house, and that's Joe's tinny.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically got a brand new outboard on it, and the tinny was a bit bashed up, but $3,500 for like a boat. I pretty much stole it. Trailer, rego, all that stuff. It was pretty much free, and that just after that it was all over. Like I was just hook, line, and sinker to say I was done. It's just there's no one around. You know what I mean? You're just out there and just catching, and the bonus is you can catch good fish to eat. And I love eating. So I love my fish. So, it just comes hand in hand. And it's just been a natural progression to do that. And then, when I come home, if the waves weren't good, I'd just fish here. And then it's just snowballed into, another avenue to take my self-competitiveness. You know what I mean? So I got a message off a brand called Samaki the other day, and they offered me a sponsorship.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just had 3 rods rock up in the mail and all these new lures and stuff like that. And I was just like, what the hell? Like I was just...
the monkey's off the back.
He's being kissed on the dick by an angel.
Absolutely. I just couldn't believe it. So that's a bit of pressure off the bank account.
Wow.
So that's great. Yeah. No, I'm stoked. So, but also, when the waves line up and I'm home, I'm straight down the beach.
We definitely don't want to give the impression that you're not surfing because you've actually got quite a few clips about to sort of land on everyone's doorsteps.
Yeah, I've been sitting on a fair bit of stuff from the South Coast.
Yep.
Did a little trip to Samoa, which we didn't completely score, but got enough for a video part. And then on the sunny coast last week, I was absolutely cooking.
Yep.
And just went for 2 sessions, and Jennings came up and shot for one morning, and we managed to get a little section.
Killed it.
Yeah, he got the drone up and got all sorts of angles covered, so that was pretty cool.
So then you got a new one that MJ's been editing as well, Analogue.
Yeah.
Which is going to feature all your Samoa and South Coast stuff, and it's you and Brad Stone.
Yeah, me,
and Tyson Ryan.
Tyson Ryan.
Yep.
Elliot and Casbar.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Jay McGuire shot that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, no, I did really well.
Because that trip obviously started in a little bit of a dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about the journey.
Oh no, we just we're all together. We're in a lounge, and our flight got delayed, and of course, like there's free beers and stuff like that. So we're like, we'll just have a few beers, and ended up. We ended up, like, they kept delaying it. And we're just like, oh, my God, we'll get another beer. Like, anyway, so we just kept going, and finally got on the flight. And Elliot and I did that thing where you can bid for business class. So we ended in business class getting free Hennessy and stuff and just got way overboard. And we landed in Samoa, and we had to wait, like, another hour and a half for Casbar to rock up. And, we were just no sleep, just like sitting in the airport, like drunk. I was hungover by that stage.
Waiting for the hungover to come.
Yeah, it was just pretty much hungover, and then we couldn't check into our accommodation, so we're like, stuff it, we'll just go straight to the waves. So we're all like stopping for piss stops every kilometre. And we finally get to the waves and it's pumping. And we're just like, oh no. I was like, oh my God. I was like, all right, we got out there. We ended up surfing for like 3 hours, just getting cramps in every muscle in our bodies, and we're just like zombies and couldn't find our accommodation. And oh my God, it was an absolute shit show. But I ended up getting a couple of good waves that morning somehow. But
how was the rest of that trip go?
I can't do it. Look, it was one of those things where we had a whole different group of blokes. I had been working flat stick for months and months, and it was like I just wanted to surf, sleep, eat, and that was the idea I had in my head. These guys had a different, we're all kind of in the same boat, but I don't know, like I had the idea of what I think we should do. They had theirs, and we were just chasing waves, getting places late. Like it kind of it worked, but it didn't. And yeah, I don't know. Like generally when you go to like Samoa, I'd go for a month. So you always get waves. You always got footage. And this time I only went for 10 days. And, so it was something out of the norm for me. I didn't get everything I wanted out of it, but still a tropical holiday on a tropical island with a few mates. So, yeah, it had it's good and bad parts, but yeah, I can't complain. It was better than being out in the desert. So
South Coast made up for it, though.
Yeah, that's it. Went down with Brad Stone. Like, it's one of the keenest blokes I've ever met.
Yep.
Bodyboarding, and he's always just looking to learn stuff like that. So it was always good going down there with him because he's up early every day. He's keen. He's onto it. Like, he's got that place wide now, and every time I go down there, he could give me a call and go, "Hey, look, it's looking good for this," and he'd just chauffeur you around, and it's fantastic. It's good having someone like that you can just and he's a good friend of mine too. So it's just easy. So yeah, great.
Yeah, nice. Should start winding it up, eh?
Yep. We'll go down to quick fire.
Yep.
So these are just some random quick questions. First thing that comes to your head. So favourite band. It can be past or present.
Okay. Let's say favourite band would be probably Parkway is always one of my favourites.
Yep. It's an easy one.
Yeah.
Favourite film?
Non-bodyboarding?
Snatch. Yeah.
Guy Ritchie. Nice.
Yeah.
And then favourite car?
Pete Truby.
No, favourite of your own car.
Oh, my car. Oh, Kevin.
He had a Magna. He had a Magna with a rooftop tent that looked like it was like a circus tent, and it all started falling in. So
yeah, that's my first car.
It sounded like the Kettle. Like, it had many names, and then I think it's with our group circle, we've always had car names and stuff. Like Ash has got. He had one called Vladimir.
The Stingray.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many. Yeah.
Favourite TV show?
Game of Thrones. I've been watching all the offshoots of that. I just love that. All Vikings. Yeah.
Favourite bodyboarding film?
Probably one of the Thrashed. I like those. Yep.
Favourite film section?
Of anyone?
Yep.
Anything out of Hard Life.
Yep.
Yep.
Who was your sort of hero when you were
Hardy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hardy, Rollins, and then probably Spencer Skipper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been mistaken for someone famous?
I have, and I can't think of his name. There's some dude off like Home and Away or something. I can't remember his name. Anyway, yep.
We'll go with that one.
Yep.
First board?
Rio Pipo Ben Holland. I think it was called like a Stinger or something.
Oh.
Yeah, and then second board was a Hardy Tubes board, yeah.
Favourite wave?
Oh, here we go.
There's so many. I'll just say Black Rock.
Top three.
Black Rock, Southall, and this one's hard. Let's just say D-Bar.
Just throws it away.
Yeah.
Just say
could have been like Chungu.
Chungu. Yeah, no, that's right, actually. Sorry.
Favourite surf trip?
Ooh, goodness me. It wasn't for the waves, but for the memories was probably the Canada, when I went to Canada.
Yeah, tell us about
that. Myself, Curtis Pryor, Greg. He just flew. We flew over to Canada. Basically got in a car, drove straight to the top of Vancouver Island, and we're in like a little cabin, just surfing, just crazy scenery. Water was freezing.
Bears,
like possible wolves, like stuff like that. And then did another trip where we got a fishing charter boat up the coast off and just camped on an island for 9 days. And we it was like, because it was a fishing charter boat, we got all fresh fish and crab and ate on the fire, drank out of the creek, like.
Yeah, wow.
Just
like alone.
Yeah, it was just cool, man. It was just cutting down trees for firewood. We had to eat. We had to have fire to eat, stuff like that. So it was just very primitive and just, that was by far the coolest experience.
Is there photos or footage of that?
Yeah, it was in Riptide.
Yep.
There was a full segment on it.
Yeah.
Spread and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
From back a while ago. But other than that, just any trip to Samoa. Yeah.
Favourite move?
Air reverse.
Air reverse in a wedge.
Air reverse left.
Favourite board?
Favourite board? Oh, just the one I'm on now. Yeah.
Thank fuck he said that. Jesus.
Yeah.
That would have been
That's
awkward.
the first one.
That would have been awkward, wouldn't it?
The Rio Pipo Ben Holland.
Just looking under the table to see how many $50 notes I can see in his pocket.
Yeah, nah, definitely. It's a culmination of every year I've been riding on a bodyboard all in one. So, yeah, definitely the ones I'm on now.
Mate, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
It's taken a couple of times. We've tried to schedule it a few times and it's fallen apart last second and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, shut down life, mate. They swap and change your roster and I only get a couple of days at home, so it's got to revolve around family, friends and fishing.
Yeah.
and the fiance.
And the fiance.
Yes, got to keep everyone happy. It's a
mate, that's
work-life balance, mate.
Yeah, no, that's life.
It's really good having both of you guys on as well, like such good friends, know each other so well. So it's been really good. Couple of things just to mention definitely would be Analogue's about to come out.
Yep.
MJ edited, Jay Maguire shot, starring Joe, Tyson, Stoney, Elliot, and it's going to come out on Riptide.
Yeah.
We haven't got an actual date yet. It's going to be set shortly, but we'll let everyone know through socials. Mm-hmm. And much appreciated for coming on.
No worries. I'm glad that we could finally do this.
Yeah, cheers.
It's been a long-awaited potty, and I'm stoked we could do it.
Cheers, Braz.
All good, boys.
Thanks for coming on the Closeout, and special thanks to MJ too, mate, for hosting us again.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.